ॐ श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिनी व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Srimad Bhagavad Gita is one of the 5 shining jewels in the Itihasa Mahabharatam attributed to Vedavyasa Acharya. Now, as you know, we are blessed, Bharatadesha is blessed with the 2 famous Itihasas. One is the Valmiki Ramayana, evergreen, and about the glory of Dharma and victory of Dharma over Adharma, and personified by Sri Rama, a favorite for all of us. It is very straightforward. We enjoy the Navarasas there. But Mahabharatam is also a book of Dharma, and it is more vast and more complex. And the way it portrays the nuances of Dharma in all the relationships of the king with the subject, between brothers, and between husband and wife, and so on. So Mahabharatam is also called Panchama Veda. Panchama Veda, why? Because it is a complete Shastra. It has got logistics, it's got philosophy, and all the topics. So it's a very important research material for students all over the world. So it is said that what is found in the Mahabharatam is found elsewhere also. You can find it. But what is not here, you cannot find it anywhere else. Yeah, it's a complete Shastram. And Bhagavad Gita is described as the pendant jewel. It appears in the midst of the Mahabharatam in the Bhishma Parva. And it is one of the 5 jewels. So what are the other 5? Some of us know it. That is, it is called the Pancharatnas. Yeah, one is the Yaksha Prashna story of the Yaksha appearing before Yudhishthira, then Vidura Niti, Sanat Sujatiyam, and of course Bhagavad Gita that we are going to study, and the Vishnu Sahasra Namam. And so what we are going to see in this course is a lot of things, like, a little bit about the context and the background story. What are the events that led to this Samvada, Krishna-Arjuna Samvada happening on the Kurukshetra battlefield? So a little bit of Mahabharata we need to know. And then what is the context of the Gita? Why the Bhagavad Gita was taught on the battlefield? And what is the connection between Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas? And how it is unique, and how the Gita is divided into the 3 Shatkams, and why each chapter is called a yoga. A yoga means a topic, and the significance of 18, the 2 meters, Anushtup and Trishtup meters for chanting, and so on. So we have all these topics to be covered, and every topic, every chapter in the Gita is a yoga. And yoga here means a topic. So now Bhagavad Gita is part of this Mahabharatam. Now, many modern intellectuals today They call these Shastras like Mahabharatam and Ramayana as mythology. No? But we call it Itihasa. Itihasa means Iti Ha Asa, which means this is how it happened. So it's a historical narration and with some elements perhaps of drama and fiction. And today science is in fact showing us evidence that indeed Iti Ha Asa. The NASA photographs of the Ramasetu bridge, we have seen those photographs confirming the fact that the Vanara Sena built that bridge. And then the recent discovery of Dwarika Nagari off the coast of western Gujarat, that all these show that these are indeed itihasas. So Bhagavad Gita is a very important jewel of the Mahabharatam and composed by Veda Vyasa. Now, before we enter into the first chapter of the Gita, we need to know some story about the background context. Yeah? And so I will begin with the story of King Shantanu. And some of you are very well aware of all these stories from the serials, TV serials, or heard in childhood. Yeah, and some may not know also. But it is important for us to dive into the context. So King Shantanu was, a great king of the then Kuru kingdom and of the Bharata Vansha. And he chanced upon a beautiful lady, who is none other than Ganga, by a river. And he approaches her and, wishes to marry her. And the beautiful Ganga Devi agrees, but she agrees on one condition. She says, "O King Shantanu, whatever I do, after we get married, you must not question my action ever. If you do that, then I will disappear and go back to Swargaloka." And so Shantanu is, happy that she agreed to his proposal. And so he agrees to the condition and they get married. So within the first year, they have a baby boy. They're blessed with the birth of the boy. But what is a strange occurrence is as Shantanu is going, to see the baby, he sees that Ganga is taking the baby and going out towards the river, and she just immerses it in the river. So Shantanu is shocked and devastated, but he remembers his promise. He says, "I cannot question her action." And he returns with a heavy heart back to the palace. And then this happens again next year with the second boy and the third. And so a total of 7 times. And Shantanu keeps quiet each time. Then the 8th year, the 8th boy that is born is again going to meet the same fate. So Ganga is proceeding towards the river. And this time he cannot control his emotions. So Shantanu stops her and he asks her, "Why? Why are you doing such a dreadful thing, drowning our sons? What is the reason?" And she smiles and says, "I'm sorry, my dear, I have to return to Swargaloka. Remember the promise? But before returning, I will tell you the reason why." So sometimes in life, these stories show how strange things happen in life for us also. We cannot always understand what is the reason behind it. Yeah, but there must be a reason. And the reason she gives is these 8 boys that were born, they were the Ashtavasus. Ashtavasus are celestials and in Swargaloka and in a previous birth. But what happened at one time, the sage Vasishtha was angered and he pronounced a curse that these Ashtavasus be born in the Mrityuloka as a mortal. Then his anger calms down and Vasishtha, he revises the curse and says, "But 7 of you can return immediately after your birth back to Swargaloka, but the 8th one has to stay for the whole duration of life." And so now the 8th one is alive. Yeah. And so Ganga, she actually takes the child and she trains the child herself in warfare, administrative, logistics, and calls him Deva Vrata. Deva Vrata. And we know this Deva Vrata is going to become Bhishma in the future. So that's the story of the great Bhishma Char. So true to her promise, Ganga brings this Devavrata when he becomes a teenager back, and she returns him to Shantanu and says, here you are. And he can be the crown prince. And he is again very happy, Shantanu. But then again, our minds, kabhi khushi, kabhi gum. So the mind of Shantanu, again, he is feeling lonely. And this time, he comes across a Matsya Kanya. Matsya Kanya means a fisherwoman. And she is called Satyavati. So the Satyavati is a fisherwoman, but very beautiful. And Shantanu again asks her if she would marry him. And she agrees. But the father of Satyavati has another condition. He says, oh Maharaja, I will give my daughter in marriage to you only if you promise that only her son, born of your wedding, will get the throne of Hastinapura, the then kingdom. And now Shantanu cannot believe this condition. And because he already has a son, Devavrata, and he returns to the palace feeling very disappointed and dejected. And then when Devavrata comes to know why his father is unhappy, then he takes this oath. Yeah. And it's called the terrible oath. And the oath is the oath of brahmacharya, lifelong celibacy. And that is why he's known as Bhishma. He says, I will not get married, so there will be no problem hereafter. And only, your son born to Satyavati can claim the kingdom. So he does this for the happiness of his father. And Shantanu is so overwhelmed and touched by this gesture that he in turn blesses Devavrata and says, I bless you with the boon of Ichhamrityu. Yeah, Ichhamrityu, is the siddhi that one can choose one's Antakala. And we know what happens in the end after the war, how Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows and he is waiting for the Uttarayana Punyakala to come so that he can depart. And that was a blessing of his father, Shantanu. Now, which son will do this for the father? It's quite a strange story, but stranger than fiction. But these things we have to keep in mind that it's a different age, Dwapara Yuga, and the average age was up to 150, 160 years. So these things could have very well happened also. So that is the story of Bhishma. So then the story continues that Shantanu marries Satyavati, and together they have two sons, Chitrangada and Vichitra Virya. And then again there is a strange twist because even though the sons get married, but they don't have sons, they don't have progeny to continue the lineage. And even more worse, what happens is that Chitrangada and Vichitravirya, both of them die. Yeah, and Shantanu also passes away. His time is also up. Now this Rajamata, that is Satyavati, is alone in the palace. And of course, Bhishma is there also to support her. So then she has a secret past. So what is a secret past is that she had met as a young girl, as a teenager perhaps, she had met Parashara Muni. Parashara Muni, and from their union, a child was born on an island. Child was dark and named Krishna Dvaipayanaha. And that Krishna Dvaipayanaha is Vyasacharya, who is known to us as Veda Vyasa. Veda Vyasacharya, who codified, classified the 4 Vedas and composed this Mahabharatam also. So now Satyavati has a strange idea, She calls her first son, Vyasa, to the palace and asks him to have a relationship with her 2 daughters-in-law, who are Ambika and Ambalika. Okay. Now Vyasacharya would be surprised and he hesitates initially, but then he does fulfill the wish of his mother. And so he unites with the two ladies, to the ladies, and from their union are born Pandu and Dhritarashtra, yeah, whom we all know very well. So Dhritarashtra, the elder boy, is born blind, and Pandu, the younger one, is born but very pale and not so healthy child. But anyway, both of them grow up in the palace, and they learn all the logistics and all that. And then one of them has to be crowned prince. Yeah, generally by the rule, the elder one should be the prince. Yeah, but here, unfortunately, the elder one is disabled, and you can't have a disabled king because he has to fight, wage wars, and have strategies. So then the choice falls upon Pandu, the younger one. So Pandu rules the kingdom of Hastinapura, but he gives a lot of respect to his elder brother Dhritarashtra and takes care of him well also. Then they also in turn get married, and we know Gandhari is the wife of Dhritarashtra. She also chooses to blindfold herself, and Pandu has two wives, Kunti and Madri. Now, it so happens that even Pandu suffers from a curse by a rishi. And the curse is that if he unites with a wife, then he will die. So then now this Pandu becomes very disillusioned, and he, along with the two wives, they decide to go and adopt the Vanaprastha. They go to the forest and they abandon the kingdom. And so there in the forest also they continue the life, and then we hear of all the children that are born. How are they born? Also in a very strange manner. Kunti is blessed with a mantra given to her by Durvasa that she could use the power of the mantra. So she prays to the Devatas, and to Kunti are born Yudhishthira, Bhima, and Arjuna. That is, Yudhishthira is Dharmaraja, Dharmaputra, and Bhima is Vayuputra, and Arjuna is born by the grace of Indra. And she helps Madri also conceive and get two sons. They are the twins, Nakula and Sahadeva. And each of them has a glory. How Sahadeva is an excellent astrologer, and he could predict the muhurtas very well. It is said that he was so dharmic that even when Duryodhana approached Sahadeva and asked, at what time should we fight the war that we would win? So Sahadeva gives him the right muhurta, and the Yudhishthira also. But Krishna prevents that from happening, so that the Pandavas won the war. And Yudhishthira, would never compromise on dharma. And Bhima is the strong, feared one, and Arjuna is the excellent warrior. And Nakula is also a great warrior. So then after that, what happens is even Pandu passes away, and his wife Madri commits sati. And then now Kunti, with all the 5 sons, she returns to the kingdom, Hastinapura, and they're all welcomed. And all of them, the Kuru clan, are given proper training in warfare, administration by the elders, Drona, Bhishma, Kripa, and so on. And life continues. But we know how jealous, how insecure, and frustrated Duryodhana feels. So then the elders want to divide the kingdom into 2. So they give Hastinapura to the Kauravas and Indraprastha to the Pandavas. And again, the Pandavas are loved by the people, very popular, and this makes Duryodhana even more jealous and insecure. And so, masterminded by Shakuni, his maternal uncle, Duryodhana devises, kicks upon this plan, thinks about the plan of inviting them for a dice game. So the dice game, you all know, is part of Kshatriya Dharma, and also it is a weakness of Yudhishthira. So when they are invited and, they are played, then we know how Yudhishthira stakes everything, his kingdom, his brothers, even Draupadi, Panchali, and loses everything. And then how Krishna, Dwarkanath, protects her honor, and only at that moment the elders intervene. And Bhishma, Dhritarashtra, they all say enough is enough, no more. And now they're willing to give back the kingdom to the Pandavas. And then what happens? Again, Duryodhana steps in, and along with his uncle, they have another round of dice and encouraging the Pandavas, to win if possible. And again, of course, they lose again, and this time the condition is they are exiled for 12 years plus another year of Ajnatavasa, incognito. And so they, bear with all this terrible hardship in the forest and successfully, with a lot of titiksha and patience, they go through that. Then finally, after 13 long years of struggle, they return to the kingdom to claim their share of the kingdom. But what happens now? Duryodhana refuses to even give them an inch of that space. In their absence, Duryodhana had become very greedy and very corrupt by all the power he was enjoying. So then Krishna intervenes as a peace messenger and says, "Oh Duryodhana, give them one state with 5 districts." No. Give them one district with 5 villages? No. Give them one village with 5 houses? No. Okay, give them one house with 5 rooms? No. I will not give them even a needle space of land. If they want anything from me, they have to wage a war and then claim it from me. Even Vyasacharya, he approaches Dhritarashtra. He says, don't be so blind in your putra moha, your attachment to your son. You are being a silent witness. You take a stand against all this happening. But he remains silent. So what happens as a result of all this? Dharma Yuddha is inevitable. Yeah. And the war had to, take place. So then Krishna comes back to the Pandavas and says that now you have no choice but to fight this war. So this is the context and the background story. Very briefly, I have told this. There are many, many more stories, in the Mahabharata, which has 100,000 verses in total. So now this is where we come to the beginning of chapter 1. Now, chapter 1 of the Gita is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. It has 47 verses. Yeah. And this opens with this blind Dhritarashtra talking to his minister Sanjaya. So the whole chapter is about what? About the details of the war. Now, the war is going to begin where? In Kurukshetra. Kurukshetra is in the present-day Haryana state. So now there's a huge, vivid description of the warriors, their conches, their horses and elephants and weapons and all that. And all the commanders in chief, everybody is ready. Yeah. And at that moment, what happens? Arjuna just looks around. He, of course, asks Krishna to take him to the middle. And he looks around and he sees, these are my brothers, my friends, my cousins, my uncles, my grandfathers, my fathers. We all live together and today we are divided and we are going to clash. This cannot be auspicious, Krishna. This is adharma. So he argues with Krishna. And then Krishna is the charioteer. Yeah, he is a charioteer for the Arjuna's chariot, whereas Duryodhana got the Yadava army. He's very happy about it. Yeah. So now this is the context of the first chapter. And as Arjuna looks around and sees that only devastation and death and bloodshed is going to be the result. So he begins to panic. Yeah, he shivers and his mind is filled with conflict and he does not hesitate out of fear. Yeah, but he hesitates out of compassion. Yeah, he cannot proceed nor can he retreat. So he is just paralyzed and stuck and he collapses in the chariot itself. So this is how Arjuna Vishada Yoga chapter 1 ends. Yeah. And then another 10 verses of chapter 2 still describe the warfare, the field, that is the Kurukshetra. And only when Arjuna cannot bear it anymore, he surrenders to Sharanagati, then Krishna becomes the Guru. And then the Gita Upadesha starts with verse number 11. So, you see, this is why chapter 1 is important for us. Very important is It shows us the nature of samsara. Samsara is that inner conflict, the psychological conflict in the mind of every jiva. So every jiva is an Arjuna. So that's why the metaphorically we can say the mind is the Kurukshetra where the Kauravas and Pandavas are fighting a war, and we are seated in the chariot, Deha chariot, and Krishna is the charioteer who is leading us, out of this messy situations. So we come across so many situations and events in life where we also are not able to proceed, neither turn back, and we feel very stuck in those situations. No? So that is why the Bhagavad Gita, this Krishna Arjuna Samvada of 700 verses and 18 chapters, is called what? Shoka Moha Nivritti Grantha. Shoka Moha Nivritti Grantha means that which removes the sorrow due to the moha, due to the moha. And it is called a hiteshani. The word Gita is feminine. So some people say it is a song of Lord, but the word song in Sanskritam is Gitam. So why Gita? Because Gita is feminine and Bhagavad Gita is the Veda Mata or the Shruti Mata. She is called the Hiteshini. Ambatvam anusandadhami Bhagavad Gite bhavat dveshini. O Amba, O Mother, you are Bhavat dveshini. You destroy the Bhavasagara. You destroy the darkness in my mind. So Bhagavad Gita is given the status of a Shruti. And she's like the spiritual mother nourishing us with the milk of this wisdom. Yeah. That is, how this Bhagavad Gita, it helps us in a twofold way. First is, it is a Yoga Shastra. Yoga Shastra means the Bhagavad Gita helps us to navigate through life, through the difficult situations of life very intelligently. Gives us the physical, mental, spiritual disciplines. In other words, karma yoga, the inner attitude, the values, the cognitive changes. But then it is also a moksha shastra. Moksha shastra means it is going to show us that, this is not all that is to life. This, you are the jiva, but what is your true nature? What is the true nature of Ishvara? What is the meaning and purpose of life? How am I connected to Ishvara? So Bhagavad Gita gives us the bigger picture. Bigger picture and helps us relatively in the immediate situation doing what is to be done with the inner balance as a yoga, and also reveals the purpose of life as the moksha shastra. So the twofold teachings, Yoga Shastra and Brahma Vidya, are in the Bhagavad Gita. Now, there are many myths about the Bhagavad Gita. Many people think that Bhagavad Gita is meant for retired people. When you retire. But even after retirement, people tend to be busy. They get involved in work. And you see that life has a way to make us busy at any stage. Balastavat krida saktah, taruni saktah, vriddhastavat chinta saktah, parame brahmani, kopina saktah, bhaja govindam. Shankaracharya beautifully says, as a young boy, we played with toys. Then young teenagers are having friendships and parties around. Then as a grahastas, we are very busy, extremely busy, with our role play and duties. Then when old age sets in, then worry. There is worry. Why did I do what I did? I should have done this. What am I going to do? What is going to happen? So who has the time to devote to Gita? Parame Brahmani Kopina Sakta. So the best time for the Bhagavad Gita is now. Here and now. When the opportunity is there, let us read it. And because Bhagavad Gita empowers every person in any stage of life. The boy can learn to memorize the Gita shlokas, the teenager, the professional, the married person, the grihani, the homemaker, the elderly citizen. In every stage, it brings that inner peace and fulfillment to us. Yeah, that is myth number one. Then the second myth is that there are so many yogas in the Bhagavad Gita. You know, there is bhakti, there are so many paths to moksha: bhakti yoga, raja yoga, karma yoga, sankhya yoga, so many paths, raja yoga. But here Krishna clearly says that lokesmin vividha nishtha pura prokta mayanagha jnana yogena sankhyanam karma yogena yoginam. You have a choice. Either you pursue this knowledge, moksha, vidya, totally dedicated, pursued as a sannyasi, whether formal sannyasi or internal sannyasi, totally, or you remain active in the world, discharging your duties and responsibilities, but pursue the knowledge. No? So, actions backed by knowledge. And that is the main point in the Gita. How to do what is to be done, how to perform one's duty, but intelligently, without fear of the consequences. And that is the whole point about Karma Yoga, Ishwararpana Buddhi and Prasada Buddhi. And Krishna being a Grahastha and a king, administrator, and Arjuna also a Grahastha and a Kshatriya, this is going to be the main focus. But Gita is really a moksha shastra. Yeah. Then many people also think that if I read the Gita, it will solve my problems. So Gita is seen as a problem solver. Yeah. Some people say, I just open the pages of the Gita and I get the solution. Yeah. We may get some insight into the Gita, but what the Gita is going to tell us, you are the problem, you are the solution. The problem is centered on I, the fundamental problem of self-ignorance. So let us remove that self-ignorance by systematic, consistent learning, and so that I will discover the freedom and fulfillment in me. So these are some of the myths by the people. So chapter 1 opens with this blind king Dhritarashtra seated in his palace in Hastinapura, and he is talking to the minister Sanjaya and says, Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, in that battlefield, Samaveta Yuyutsavaha, Mamaka Pandavascheva, Kim Akurvata Sanjaya. Oh Sanjaya, what are these my sons and the Pandavas doing on Kurukshetra? Yeah. So you can see that pasam, the attachment right there. So that question itself is portraying the anxiety that nothing should happen to his sons, the Kauravas. Yeah. That is how the chapter 1 begins. And we know that the Sanjay was blessed with a Divya Chakshu. Divya Chakshu by Vedavyasa, that extraordinary audio-visual capacity to report, as a war reporter sitting in the palace. He's like an online student. All the Zoom technology, all integrated in his mind. He's not physically there, but he's so blessed. He listens to the whole Krishna-Arjuna Samvada, the dialogue. He is blessed with the Vishwarupa Darshanam in chapter 11, and he gets all the teaching. So he is really, truly a Shishya and a very wise minister also. But despite all his advice to Dhritarashtra, the karma of Dhritarashtra is to remain blind. And so ignorance never pays. And so how they all suffer in the end, we all very well know. So that is the chapter 1 here. And let's see this content once again. So, see why the Bhagavad Gita was taught. Now it is clear that it was inevitable, and because of the conflict Arjuna was experiencing in the mind. And the Bhagavad Gita is organized in 3 sections also. In the 3 sections of 6 chapters each. We will see all that in the next session. And the significance of 18. I think most of us also know that. How this Mahabharatam has 18 parvas, yeah, and there are 18 army units. Yeah, 18 army units. And then there are 18 chapters in the Gita. And Mahabharatam is also called Jayam. No, Jayam has a numerological value of 18. Yeah. And there are 18 significant namas for Sri Krishna and Arjuna also in the Bhagavad Gita. So we are going to see how the Bhagavad Gita proceeds through Karma Yoga first, through the Tvampada Shatkam about the Jiva. What is the nature of the Jiva? And then Tatpadam Shatkam in the middle about Ishvara. And finally, how there is the equation between the two. How to discover that Ishvara right here and now in my own heart. So the whole Vedantic equation, Tattvamasi, is unfolded beautifully in the 18 chapters of the Gita. So Bhagavad Pada Adi Shankaracharya in the Bhaja Govindam has also mentioned the Gita and says, Bhagavad Gita kinchidadhita Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita Sakradapiyena Murari Samacha Tasya Na Charcha Kriyate Yamena. So Adi Shankaracharya says, whoever has studied the Gita even kinchit, little bit, or drunk one drop of Ganga, or worship Murari Krishna once, then Yama cannot touch him. The fear of death will not be there. So that is the assurance he gives. Now it does not mean we all study the Gita only kinchit. So Chinmayananda has also said, not only should we go through the Gita, but the Gita has to go through us. Which means what? The Bhagavad Gita, every verse, every chapter should be well assimilated, digested. We have to understand the practical relevance and own it up. No? And then it will bring about that wonderful transformation inside. No? We chant this, Asatoma, Satkamaya, Tamasoma, Jyotirgamaya, Mrityorma, Amritangamaya, every time. So the Gita, through this journey, along with Arjuna, we also are going through the journey from this darkness to light, from mortality to immortality, from falsehood and ignorance to truth and reality. So, so finally, let us see that what is the message of the Gita. You see that we will find various beautiful topics in the Bhagavad Gita. What is the nature of bhakti, Sakama bhakti, Nishkama bhakti, then skill in action, yoga, karma, kaushalam, meditations, Raja Yoga meditation is there, Abhyasa, Vairagyam, then values and attitudes are beautiful. Even diet principles are given in the Gita, what to eat, what to avoid, Shraddha, what is the nature of Ishvara. But is this the main message in the Bhagavad Gita? All this is there. But the main message is Atma Jnanam. Yeah? That is what is my essential nature. And that is the main message of the Gita. So, we will see all this in the next session. We will see the chapter-wise summary. Chapter 1, how this nature of samsara is portrayed very vividly in Arjuna's mind, and then how he, collapses. It is said that, as long as we are enjoying life, there is no problem. Then there will be no need for Gita. And the Swamiji will say, whenever we ask people, how are they? They'll say, yeah, I'm fine. I don't need Bhagavad Gita. But you keep talking to them. Then slowly the problems will come out. Oh, Swamiji, my son, he's like this. My daughter is like this. I have got so many EMIs to pay. I am suffering. What to do? Nobody understands me. So that feeling of being inadequate, limited, frustrated, isolation is a universal problem. It's a fundamental problem. And so the Bhagavad Gita is going to show us that how All the problems are really centered on I. But who is this I? The I that is limited by our bodies, or is it something much more than that? So that is the clarity that the Gita is going to give us. Now we will just chant the glory of the Gita. There is a beautiful Gita Mahatmyam and 7 verses and composed by Adi Shankaracharya, which talks about how, every day we take a bath and cleanse away all the malam. But what about the malam in the mind? The malam of raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, insecurity, frustration, despair, unpredictability, fear, anxiety. That can only go by Gita Ganga Snanam. So Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punar Janmana Vidyate. And how, it is enough to study the Gita, one text alone. Minimum for a Hindu, one must study the Bhagavad Gita at least once. No? Why? Because we are all Bharatiyas. What does the word Bharata mean? The one who is Rata. Rata means who revels, rejoices in Bha. Bha is light, the light of knowledge. So Bharata, we're going to celebrate the Republic Day soon. This is the meaning of Bharata. Many meanings are given, Bha is Bhava, Ra is Raga, Ta is Talam. So Bharata is the land which vibrates with the fragrance of Vedanta and knowledge. And anybody, it can be a Bharatiya in Germany also, like Vani Devi. So all of you are Bharatiyas, Bharatiyas who revel and rejoice in, in this knowledge. So let us chant the Mahatmyam, and then we will conclude with some closing prayers. अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता माहात्म्यम् गीताशास्त्रमिदं पुण्यं यः पठेत् प्रयतः पुमान् विष्णोः पदमवाप्नोति भयशोकादिवर्जितः गीताध्ययनशीलस्य प्राणायामपरस्य च नैव सन्ति हि पापानि पूर्वजन्मकृतानि च मलनिर्मोचनं पुंसां जलस्नानं दिने दिने सकृद्गीताम्भसि स्नानम् संसारमलनाशनं गीता सुगीता कर्तव्या किमन्यै शास्त्रविस्तरैः या स्वयं पद्मनाभस्य मुखपद्माद्विनिसृता भारतामृत सर्वस्वं विष्णो वक्त्राद्विनिसृतं गीता गङ्गोदकं पीत्वा पुनर्जन्म न विद्यते सर्वोपनिषदो गावः दोग्धा गोपालनन्दनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत् एकं शास्त्रं देवकी पुत्रगीतम् एको देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मन्त्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. So you see, here is the reason why we must not postpone the Gita study. Because every stage of life, can be busy for us. Because we have so many distractions, especially in today's gadget-oriented life, we rarely find time to be with oneself, to do what is the inner yatra. So we may think, oh, I have my family to support, I have my profession, I have to take care of this, take care of that. But as you know, on the flight, you have to put on your oxygen mask first and then help others. So Bhagavad Gita says exactly that. Do you know who you are? Do you have a calm, balanced inner self-aware mind. So the mind that is well informed alone can help others, yeah, and the world. So this is the whole point in the Shastra Shravanam, which is like a Ganga, which is going to wash away the malam of the mind and give us that moksha prapti. Now we will chant this one shloka for Krishna and then conclude. Krishno rakshatu mam charachara guruho Krishnam namasyamyaham कृष्णेनामरशत्रवो विनिहता कृष्णाय तस्मै नमः कृष्णात् एव समुत्थितं जगदिदं कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहम् कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ